So what is going on, guys? A couple of weeks ago, we asked you to fill out a survey saying what your game of the year was for 2015, of course. And we did say that that video would go up before the end of 2015.
The royal we, I think, is being used in this situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oscar said that we were going to upload that video in last week.
Oscar doesn't consider everyone else's time schedule, I believe.
Today we have the results of that survey, of course, and I'd like to thank you. So many people answered that survey, over 100 people, which is awesome to see. But we're going to go straight into the results, of course. We're going to do the top 5. We're going to give a little bit of our kind of opinions on that game, and then move on and go up and up and up until we obviously get to Game of the Year from you guys. So let's get straight into it. Number 5 is Bloodborne, of course, released this year in, I think it may have been March time.
What did you guys think of that game?
Well, I know I have not personally played it because that's the awkward thing. You see, I never knew I knew I'd never play that game. I just, as soon as I saw what the gameplay was like, I was like, no. But
Gameplay's
Quan, I know
great,
you
though. The gameplay is
it.
probably, in terms of the mechanics and stuff, probably one of the most refined games of last year, I think, and the gameplay was definitely one of the stronger bits.
The art direction as well, definitely
art
one of the best as well.
Difficulty, I think, obviously is the reason people play it, and also ended up being one of the highlights of it. I think there's fewer and fewer harder games these days. You know, you get all these games that are so easy. I know, unless you're a casual like Oscar, but there's so many games these days where it's so easy to complete and there's no challenge involved with it at all. But Bloodborne was one of those games where it wasn't that. You had to work your socks off to complete it. Recently, I went back and actually managed to complete it, which was a surprise. But I did it, and the feeling of satisfaction that you get from whenever you beat a boss, or if you manage to get there, if you manage to beat the game, is immense. And I think Bloodborne does so many things right. I think it definitely deserves its place on the list for sure. And I do hope one of you plays those sorts of games at some point in the future, because they are definitely worth playing.
Yeah.
Okay. If I say I'll play it, then you'll all just turn around and say, "Oh, you'll buy it. You won't complete it. You're a casual, bloody fucking blah."
I think Callum has a bee in his bonnet about this.
Yeah, I don't think Callum's quite as happy in this video as he was in the New Year's Eve video, if I'm honest.
God.
Let's get on with it, of course. Fallout 4 is number 4, which is kind of ironic. But, of course, again, I did intend to actually play this game when it obviously was announced back in, I think it was May time. It was slightly before E3 happened. And we obviously made that video where we reacted to it being announced, all that kind of thing. And, you know, it was always interesting. It looked interesting. I always wanted to play a Fallout game, never got around to doing it. But when it came to Fallout 4 releasing, I just didn't have the urge to play it anymore. I didn't really feel like I wanted to spend £50 on it. It's kind of always been in my mind to whether to get it or not. I think when it's going down in price, I probably will do. But for now, I've not played it. I know Callum hasn't played it either. But we're going to get back to Quan, of course, because you have played some of it,
Quan. No,
but you've not played all of it.
I'll come out clean right now. Saying that I have played it really isn't true, because I bought it, played it on release day for what was about 3 to 4 hours, and since haven't touched it at all. Haven't even gone back to play it at all. So to ask me what my opinions on it are, I know as much as you do, really. It never grasped me in that sort of first few hours that I did play it, although I do definitely plan to go back to it. Unfortunately, I think my experience with The Witcher 3 did affect my urge to want to play Fallout 4, because The Witcher 3 was so incredible. I think I wasn't prepared at the time of release. I'm still not prepared now to go into another game that's so massive. So I want to spend some more time on The Witcher 3, which I'm doing right now. And once I know I'm finished with that game, I think that's when I'm going to be able to move on to Fallout 4. So yes, I've purchased it, but I haven't really played enough of it. But I will play it for sure in the future, because I know it's a good game. And from what people say, I think it's the game that it's basically a more refined version of Fallout 3, I think, which isn't a bad thing at all.
That's what I've heard, basically. No. It's kind of Fallout 3 in a different skin now.
But that sounds like that sounds like a good thing, and because Fallout 3 was an incredible game also. So, yeah, again, another one that was sort of expected on the list.
Yep, definitely. I mean, this is the first thing I wanted to actually mention, of course. All of the games on this list were very predictable. Like, they're the 5 games that you probably thought, yeah, they're probably going to be in the top 5 if you had to pick Game of the Year. And they are the top 5. So, let's move on to number 3, of course. Now, thankfully, we all have played this game.
Yeah, but you played hardly any of it.
It's Batman Arkham Knight. I think Callum had already predicted what it's going to be. But yes, Batman Arkham Knight is number 3. And interestingly enough, I played this the least out of everyone else. I still finished the story. I finished the campaign. All the stuff after that, like the Riddler puzzles and all the other different side missions, I kind of, went in and out of. Didn't really enjoy them, so I just kind of quit the game after that. I finished the story. I was like, yeah, that was cool. And that was my kind of ending of Batman. I enjoyed the game, very, very good in terms of the way it's playing, and also the graphics are insane, actually, probably the best graphics. Depending on which way you'd say it, maybe Metal Gear Solid as well is also very good graphically wise. But, of course, let's get into what everyone else is thinking of this. Callum, you have not spoken yet, so go for it.
Why doesn't that surprise anyone in the slightest?
What a casual.
Yeah, whatever. This is my personal game of the year, because I just couldn't...
Because it's the only game.
It's the only one you finished.
I'm literally going to leave this call any second, and you're just going to be fucked. God. No, it's my personal game of the year because it was the one that I enjoyed the most. It's probably the one I put the most time into out of the two that are in this list. Well, easily out of the two that are in this list. I haven't got the proper ending for Batman yet because I haven't collected all the Riddler trophies yet. I think I'm only 30 off or something. I'm going to go back and do that at some point, but busy focusing on Just Cause at the minute, which is a hell of a lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on it. Great gameplay, great graphics, a good follow-up and a good round-off to the series, I reckon.
Well, I think it's very well saying that, but you still need to get that final ending, Callum.
I am going to go back. I will go back and do it.
I think with that being said, I really enjoyed Batman Arkham Knight. Actually, I knew I would though because I enjoyed City and Asylum so much. So it wasn't a big surprise that I enjoyed it a lot. But it was my joint number 2 in my personal top 5 games of the year, and for good reason. You guys have already touched on it. Brilliant gameplay, the way it played, and the variety in the gameplay too. Actually, I really enjoyed. A lot of people didn't like the Batmobile. I thought it was a bit shoehorned in a little bit there, but at the same time, I liked the idea of it. I liked how it played, and I also liked the fact that Rocksteady were trying to implement something new into the game. But apart from the Batmobile, obviously there's the detective system, there's the hand-to-hand combat, there's the Predator system, there's all the gadgets. So I think that in itself gives you a pretty good idea of the amount of variety in gameplay there is. The story I thought was solid, and again rounded off the series very well. And apart from anything else, I think this game does it better than any other game that came out last year in terms of the atmosphere that it created. I think the atmosphere was absolutely spot on. It's exactly what you would imagine a Batman universe to be like. Yeah. Exactly. It's exactly what you'd expect. And I think from that point of view, I really enjoyed it. That's probably what made my enjoyment of it so good. And also, obviously, the characters also made it.
Yeah,
so yeah,
definitely.
That's my opinion.
I think again with just to slightly touch on the end of kind of Batman Arkham Knight as well. Kind of the negatives of that I felt was always that they just over the top with the Batmobile, and then I feel like maybe it got a little bit repetitive after a while for me, especially towards the end. The amount of times you had to just drive in and there was oh look, there's loads of fucking tank things you had to destroy. It's oh god, not this again. But
that's the thing, though. I mean, people say that, and I found the Cobra tanks to be incredibly easy to get past. So I never.
Oh, they're easy to get past. It was just annoying.
Because I just never found it
Wait, Oscar, you found the game
enough
easy?
to ever.
Indeed,
I never found it disturbing enough to actually get to the point where I was just I groaned when it came up because I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be easy. You get past this in about 5 minutes, then get back onto the awesome story and other parts of the gameplay.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're going into the top 2 now. It's probably very, very easy to predict which 2 games these are. It's
it'll
just
be
what
interesting
order
to see
they come
which.
in.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. This will say a lot. About
I can
our
sense
fans,
that either one of you, whichever one comes second, the other person's just going to gloat and not going to shut up about it.
Oh,
for
of
days.
course. Oh, yeah, that's the whole point of this video.
Let me just tell you the votes quickly. Because this is actually very, really interesting. One of them has 30 votes out of the 100 or whatever, and one of them has got 19. So it's actually quite a big gap between obviously the first place and the second place. And I can tell you now that in second place, with 19 votes...
There's just so much tension here.
You can smell it, can't you?
It's Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. So Metal Gear Solid is number 2, and inevitably, obviously, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is number 1. We're obviously going to start with second place, which of course is Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, the only person in this chat who has actually finished the game is, of course, me. The other 2 have... Callum should have finished it, but he's an idiot. And
how does that make me an
idiot?
Boring. It's like Quan has said 100 times. If a game doesn't capture your attention within the first 10 odd hours you play it, it's not for you. It's not for me. I played 10 odd hours of it, and I just did not enjoy any aspect of it. It was really boring, really repetitive. Like the terrain that you play on, like it's all okay. So I know it's a desert and everything. It's very repetitive, but it is, like as Quan said, it's like it's all copy and paste everywhere. It got really boring and really repetitive really quickly, and I didn't like any of that. Like, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. It's a good game. It's probably got an amazing story to play, because most Metal Gear Solid games,
it's not
all
it's
of
the
them
weakest
do have an
story
amazing
out of the 5, but yeah.
No, but they still all have like pretty decent stories, don't they? Like in general,
It's okay. The story gets lost quite a lot, but yeah, it's okay.
It's
The
like,
Go on,
ending's a
Oscar.
little
I mean,
bit all
seeing
over
as you
the top.
are the only person who's properly played it, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, I again, personally, I've said this before, it's my game of the year, just for the pure fact that I felt it was a lot of fun to play. I will admit, it was repetitive, and at first, actually, when I first got the game, I started playing it, and I did actually quit for about a month or so, and I didn't play it for ages, and then I started kind of seeing other people really enjoying it, so I thought, okay, I'll get back into it. The 30-odd first missions, they are quite dull, they're kind of similar, but there is that variability that you can have in the way that you complete the missions, in the way that you kind of achieve all the goals and stuff, and then also the side ops. Like, you can do them in so many different ways, and that freedom is what, for me, made it not so repetitive as you guys have explained before, of course, but the most kind of amazing thing to me was the idea that you could have this kind of, it wasn't massive open world. I mean, there's obviously 2 different maps anyway, but like, you know, it's pretty kind of interesting in the sense that there's all these little different bases, and you can just, you know, extract these people, and you can take them to the mother base and like build up all that stuff, and it's kind of 2 different games in one. I feel like the building of mother bases is a game kind of separately, and you've also got the idea of obviously going into the missions and whatever else. There's a lot of stuff you can do in the game, of course. I just feel like, as you guys say, there was an element when you get into like the 80 hours that I've put into the game, it was quite repetitive, and I'm probably not going to play it again now because I'm finished with it. I've completed the full story. I've done hundreds of hours of side missions. And I'm pretty much finished with the game.
Hours. I'd love to
not
see
quite hundreds of hours,
I'd
but
love to see how it
nearly 100 hours of missions, pretty much.
I mean,
but yeah.
to be honest, I can see exactly where you're coming from. I think saying the gameplay is like repetitive from the off isn't like the best of things to say. I mean, of course, I've said the gameplay is repetitive several times. I've expressed my opinion why that is, but I think, in many ways, as you say, there's many ways you can vary up the gameplay, and a lot of it is left to you. You know, you're left to your own devices from that point of view. But I think that's also what made me so bored when playing it. I was never forced to use any of this variety. The game never made me use it. And I think when you look at games like, for example, Batman Arkham Knight or The Witcher 3 or other games like that, they seem to force you to use all the different aspects of the game, and I think that's what makes them so fulfilling, because you actually realise at that point how many different aspects of the game there are and how diverse and deep the gameplay is. And I didn't get to that point with The Witcher because it never forced me to do it. I approached every mission the same way. I went in, used a silent pistol, Fultron some people out of the map, and that's literally it. Like, the introduction of the dog didn't help me at all. Silent or Quiet, so Quiet is her name.
Quiet.
That spring mission, surprised me, but that was like the only mission I can name off the top of my head that was different out of the 15 odd I played, and that's not something I say with like a lot of joy, because I want to enjoy Metal Gear Solid 5, but that's the reason it didn't quite do it for me in the end.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, everyone's got their own opinions, that kind of thing. Blatantly, the people who have entered this survey have obviously spoken, and we know that now number 1, with 30 votes out of the 120-something that there was, then The Witcher 3 has, of course, won. Quine, as you are the only person here who's fully completed the game and actually played the game, please give us your thoughts.
I'm getting there.
Of course.
That pretty much sums it up, really, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, I have expressed my opinion on this game, so it feels like so many times anyway. If you want to go and see my full, like, 5 to 10 minute
analysis... He's going to advertise his channel again, isn't he?
No, well, I'm not going to spend, like, 10 minutes now explaining why I love it, but if you want to see
it's a long enough video anyway, won't it?
Yeah, I know,
minutes,
but that's why I'm trying to get through this quickly, Oscar, if you want to stop fucking interrupting. No, but, if you want to see my full like analysis of why the game's so good to me, then you can go and watch my top 5 games of the year video that I made, because I did explain in a lot of detail why I loved it there. But in short, the characters are brilliant, the story's amazing, the open world is a proper open world. It has so much diversity, you feel so immersed in it. It feels like you're actually existing in this world. The character of Geralt became much more interesting to me. The variety in gameplay again, I mean, there's so many different ways you can approach each battle, but there's also many different ways you can approach the battle that will help you. So with each different beast, there's each different beast, there's a particular way you can approach it that will mean that's going to deal more damage, or there's certain things that you can use to protect yourself, or certain bombs you can use, or certain oil you can use. And then of course there's the implementation of some gameplay segments when you can play as Siri, which is also very well done. And then, of course, there's the proper expansion packs that they have, which are very proper. I've bought one recently. Well, I've bought the season pass, but I've played one recently, Hearts of Stone, and that is a proper addition to the game. It's not been taken out of the game and sold separately. It's been added into the game just to further add to the experience. And when you're playing damn near 100 hours, some people playing much more than that, you're not going back and playing the same thing over and over again. You're playing something different every time. You're finding new things. You're finding out about new stories separately, and basically it just blew me away. I think it blew me away in so many different aspects, and before The Witcher 3 came out, I wouldn't have been able to say I was particularly excited about it. I'm not a big fantasy game person, I'm not a big RPG person, but I still fucking loved it so much. So yeah, that is the shortened version.
Damn, that was actually quite long. But
that's what she said.
Yep.
Yep. There we go.
My
That's
shortened
Callum's.
version remains long.
Yeah, I wanted to
It's
kind of
true.
give like a couple of kind of honourable mentions, I suppose you'd call them now. So some of the games actually got decent amount of votes. My voice is completely going, I don't know why.
Got a couple of votes.
Yeah, so so all of the games that were in the top 5 all got into the teens. The other games kind of were below that, but 2 games got 5 votes. One was Rocket League.
Wow, amazing!
Well, there's 100 people, Callum. It's not like it's going to be like 10,000, is it? I'm still saying but there's obviously 5 from Rocket League. There's 5 for the Nathan Drake collection. There was 4 for Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Life is Strange got 3, which I'm pretty glad about because I'm personally playing through that right now. Episode 3 at the moment. And yeah, the votes for the top 5 were 10 for Bloodborne, 13 for Fallout 4, 14 for Batman Arkham Knight, 19 for Metal Gear Solid 5, and obviously 30 for The Witcher 3. So yeah, that's pretty much all the kind of votes that we have. There's also different kind of votes that got like 1, like Until Dawn, Evolve, Dying Light. But yeah, pretty much we're going to be done with this video now, and we're now at like 18 minutes. So that was a long video. That is anything else you want to say, guys, or are we pretty much done here?
I'm really not. I'm not
Game
looking
of
for.
the year.
I'm not looking forward to all the gloating that Quan is going to do over the next few weeks.
Game of the year confirmed. You know it. And now IGN are going to come out and say it's their game of the year too, and I'm just going to be basking in the glory.
That would be interesting, considering they gave a 10 to Metal Gear Solid 5, and they gave like a 9 or something to Witcher.
Yeah, but last year they gave like, what was it? GameSpot gave Shadow of Mordor an 8 and still gave it the game of the year, so it doesn't mean anything. Anyway.
Okay, well anyway, of course, long video, longest video we've done apart from obviously the podcast. But anyway, thank you a lot for watching. If you got all the way to this part, of course, let us know your personal game of the year in the comments, of course. And we'd like to thank you a lot for watching. And
bye.
Thanks.
My God.
Yeah.